Good morning, LinkedIn community. Welcome to another exciting and riveting episode of Coffee with Jim and James. You know me, I'm a little animated. I like to, show emotions and such like I do. And ready for this one, James? Ready? I've been trembling with anticipation
Oh
for,
gosh.
for this episode today.
He couldn't even keep it together.
Trembling with
Yes.
anticipation.
Oh gosh.
Let me bring my brother in arms in, Mr. James Cross. James, how are you this fine and beautiful day?
Man, I'm trembling with excitement. That might be the worst one ever. Jim, I'm happy. I'm happy that the intro's over, and I'm happy to have Mark with us from Trimble. Mark, can you say your last name? Because every time I feel like I add four more vowels to it.
Well, that's interesting because it's happened my entire life. So I hope I can say it right. Fiorita. Think of Theo, Rita. Fiorita.
Perfect. Yeah, like margarita. I got it. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
All right. Mark is joining us from Trimble. I don't even know the first time I met Mark. Somewhere out on the road somewhere. And we talked him into being a part of our conference one year. So I saw him there. I don't think you were at our last one, were you, Mark?
I was
I
not.
think you missed that one. Well, it was the best one ever. You totally missed it. But Mark's a good friend of ours. We're pumped to have him on board. I don't know about you, Jimmy. Are you as pumped as I am? Are you still trembling?
Absolutely. No, it's great having our friends on that share so much industry knowledge and expertise. I was absolutely looking forward to this episode.
All right.
Let's dive into it. Trimble, give us an overview. Let our viewers understand what Trimble's about and some of the great things that you are doing in the industry.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm sure you guys get this all the time, but my disclaimer is I've got 3 kids and 2 dogs. It sounds like 2 or 3 of them are down here right now, and I don't know which one's which. So we'll keep rolling with it, but I'm sure you guys are used to these types of interruptions and odd background noises. So this will not be any different, and could get loud and, as you, Jim, animated.
Well, it's a virtual world. This is the world that we're all living in right now, so it's perfectly great, sir.
That's right. Working from home. Feel like a news anchor, only not.
Mark, I usually have to go around my house before we record these and just turn all the streaming off. My son's playing Fortnite, my daughter's on YouTube or something, and I just go around. Everyone hates me when it's Coffee with Jim and James time.
Yeah, we can't stream.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. So Trimble is it's a pretty cool story. If you think about comparison to Apple or even Microsoft, we were founded about the same time all those things were happening in the same area. We bought, this guy, Charlie Trimble, bought the rights to GPS through this company you may have heard of, Hewlett Packard. They decided they didn't think that anybody was ever going to use GPS in the civilian world. Charlie said, hey, I'll do it. Bought it, started building GPS devices in his garage. Sounds eerily familiar, right? Fast forward 42 years later, we're not just a GPS company, we're a geospatial company. And really what we care about is spatial components, right? It's a spatial world, spatial intelligence, spatial knowledge, spatial awareness. As it relates to the gas industry, it's where are my assets? What is my asset? How do I get to my asset? And how do I gather information about that asset? Now that could be existing, already in the ground. It could be we're putting it in the ground, or it could be the above ground assets. In any of those scenarios, it's about the gathering of information in the field, which we'll refer to as field data collection through a technology that or a solution set that we have called Gas Ops, and then utilizing our GNSS or GPS devices, either on your phone or through one of our mobile devices, and really being able to take that data and get it back into the office and do something with that data. Because collecting data is one thing, doing something with it is a whole different animal.
Good point.
No doubt. Mark, I've got a funny story about Trimble that I'll tell first because that's what we do, I think. I didn't know how big Trimble was and how much, where all the fingers were, when you say everywhere and everything. So I was in Colorado, went on a family trip. We were just north of Denver. I forget exactly where, but we were in a big 5-star hotel, and we were just staying there for a couple nights before we head back. And we walk into this hotel, and out front, it was it there was the Trimble logo, just as big as it could be. And I thought, what in the world? And Mark, you and I were actually working on something at the time, and so I was blown away. And I walked in, and I realized that it was a Trimble conference for the farming side of the Trimble organization. And I did a side that I had no clue even existed at the time. And so I went through, and I rode the elevator up with some guys, and asked them what they were here. So I got kind of the 30,000 foot view. But I was blown away when I saw really the reach of what Trimble does. Will you dive in a little deeper? Obviously our show is really focused on the natural gas side. That's why we're here. But can you talk a little bit about the gas ops portion of what you guys are doing?
Absolutely. So several years ago, all the years run together anymore, right? So ultimately what happened was we were exploring the natural gas market to understand why decisions were made, what drove the gas market. So I got a background in electric distribution. And so didn't really have that much knowledge in the gas distribution space. So we wanted to research and understand, well, where do we need to play? Where are we best suited to play with the tools that we have now? And what are the gaps so we can think about what tomorrow looks like? Long story short, this was probably circa 2012, 13, found out about tracking traceability, and we'd already done something similar with another solution set for the water side of the business. And so from that, it just kind of started to build. We started to understand where our current technology fit. Well, it fits pretty well. The problem is we don't address some of these specific gas utility scenarios. And in particular, it's more from the compliance side, because when I think of tracking traceability, that's compliance. We got involved with you guys from an OQ perspective, again, from a compliance scenario. Then we started investigating other vendors, leak detection devices, or manufacturers, locate manufacturers. And so what we did was we took all that intelligence, and we released Trimble Gas Ops in 2016. To be compliant with tracking traceability, OQ certifications as far as gathering that information. We don't manage any of that. And then integrations with organizations like Heath and some of their leak detection devices, Vivax Metrotech. We have some integrations with their locate devices, and then looking at, how do we continue to build this out, right? Because routine inspections, having that scheduling scenario. So it's not just digital as-builts for new construction or pipeline replacement or repair. It's managing all of that field work that could be done, because field data collection can also be redlining, right? And so we packaged all this up into a mobile platform, and this mobile platform allows you to do whatever it is you want to do on the field data collection side, and then spin that data back into, we'll call it system of record, but it could be GIS, it could be asset management, it could be both, depending on how you want to disseminate that information.
That's fascinating, Mark. And I tell you, you've hit on a few things. I've seen multiple presentations that you've given over the years. And again, you do a fantastic job with laying this out. And some of the we're littered with acronyms in our industry, which is wonderful. GIS, GNSS, other items. Can you break that down for me? I know James gets it, but I'm going to need to get a little bit clearer on that if you could. And then I do have a follow-up too, when you mentioned that whole safety measure, a thing we've had some folks on from 811 in the past.
Right.
And I believe that you guys all connect the dots with that. So kind of a two-part question for you, sir.
Yeah. So I'll start with the last question, addressing the 811 aspect. So think of GPS, global positioning systems, and then I use the word GNSS. Basically what we did is we changed the acronym, right? So GPS and GNSS, they're the exact same thing, only GNSS means Global Navigation Network System, right? So it's same thing, right? Okay. Just think of those as the same thing. But ultimately, if we think about the asset, the location, where it actually is the foundation. So if we think about this is building a house. The most important thing when you build a house is what? Foundation. You can put you can have a solid foundation, and then you can have lesser. You don't have to have all brick or all stone as a facade, right? It could be wood, it could be paneling, well, whatever you want. Bottom line is it's that foundation. Well, the GPS location of the asset is the same scenario. And when you do that out of the gate, in today's world, think about the ability to use your cell phone with a software that gave you sub-meter or even sub-foot GPS accuracy. Think about that concept, right? That's pretty cool. If you could go out in your phone and say, all right, show me where I am, where's my asset? And then if you could actually take that component when you got to your location and you could turn that into an augmented reality solution, sure. Think of the way that impacts damage prevention, right? Because seeing is believing. When you know that it's within 4 to 6 inches of its actual location or greater, your locate wand becomes a simpler tool to use because you can see it there, boom, there it is. You know what you're locating. So that's really how we tie these things together. So that's I answered the last part first. The first part is we're talking about maps and all this stuff. Think about Google Maps. We use GIS, which is Geographic Information Systems. And I was actually talking to a fellow the other day who's just into college, doesn't really know what he wants to do. So we start talking about GIS. He didn't know either. But I said, you use GIS today. If you want to know where the closest gas station is in the city that you don't know, what are you going to do? You're going to open up your map, right? Where is Chevron? Or this actually happened to me. I was in Europe, and I packed everything I needed except a belt. I got to know where a belt. I don't know where to go. So what do? I open up my map and I say men's belt because that's what I need. It showed me 3 or 4 stores that were within a certain distance. And I was like, all right, I can walk to those. I can walk to that store and get back. Wait, 2 of them are closed. One of them is open. Boom, that's where I'm going. It was a 5-minute walk. That's utilizing GIS because think of, like I said, Google Maps with, instead of having gas stations, stores, and all these other things we search for, the buried infrastructure. And in this case, what we would be looking for is a buried valve, or maybe a specific farm tap with a unique identifier, right? Or I need to get to this gate station or this rectifier. So that's really what GIS is layered data that has spatial intelligence, and then it's relative to where you are, because at the end of the day, I want to know how to get to it. When I get there, I need to know how close I am to it. Does that help?
That absolutely helped me. I know James already knows this stuff, but it absolutely.
Well, and I've actually I refined this concept in a presentation I did at SGA a couple of years ago, because it kind of hit me. I'd used another map solution where I would do a search and it would take me to the wrong place. How frustrating is that? And the way that I correlated that was, if you're in Google Maps and you're constantly searching for things that when you get there, they're not there, or they're a mile down the road, or they're across the street another 1,000 feet, how frustrated do you get with using it? You're pretty frustrated to the point where, like, this is useless, I don't even use it. Well, what we see in the utility industry is those are the maps that people use today. And when you incorporate GPS, where I am, with those inaccurate assets, that's the same effect, right? You get there, it's McDonald's is in here. I don't even see a McDonald's. This is what I needed, right? And so that's where the challenge comes in. But that's an easy way to correlate and bridge these two gaps, right? Because had that McDonald's been GPS located, you would have been able to get right to it, no problem. Front door, you'd have seen it, you'd have known where you were going. But because you continue to have these challenges, it removes the ability or even the possibility to utilize GPS.
Jim, dude, Mark's a nerd, man.
I tell people I'm smarter than I look, but I'm not as smart as you think.
That was an impressive tangent. That's one of my favorite things about this show, is that right there, getting to see into somebody's head like that. Mark, you talked about the compliance ecosystem and where Trimble fits into it, where, tracking and traceability fits into it. Will you talk a little bit about that and what that means to our industry?
Yeah, I think, there is a compliance ecosystem, right? And really at Trimble, we're thinking about this ecosystem from a solution perspective, right? So you got the field things you have to do, but that data has to come back in and you have to do things with that as well. You want to do analysis. In our business, RBA, right? Risk-based analysis. Where's my highest risk? Why is it my highest risk? And then what am I going to do to mitigate those risks, right? Well, through our solution set, so we even have devices that monitor pressure and flow for gas utilities that can report that information back in. So overpressurized mains is a big topic and a big focus for us, right? Well, that data can feed back in from the same platform, and then you can do all your data collection. I still think of that as a data collection. You're gathering data from the field, and then the data can come back in, and we can utilize other tool sets that we have that feed this ecosystem. So if we think about the routine inspections, right? Even maintenance activities, right? To me, that's part of compliance. And so what I've seen is there are always different pieces and parts to this ecosystem. What we're working towards is this ecosystem that still has those pieces and parts, but it's covered under one platform that allows you to do a lot of different things instead of, this is my favorite example. Most of the utilities in the gas that we talk to will have in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 mobile solutions. And generally one of those is specific to leak survey. So all you do is leak survey with this. Well, we might do a little bit of corrosion with it. So now you have resources that are supporting these multiple mobile solutions, right? What if you could do it all in one? I mean, you don't have to, and everybody's got their eggs in different baskets, and that's cool. But having this ability to have this communication and bridge all of these other solution sets together. I talked a little bit about asset management, work management, right? So in the utility world, we work through work orders. You can call them work orders, service orders, work ticket, work project, whatever, but it's the same concept. There's a system that creates that work order, and being able to consume, digest, and disseminate that information to the field is huge. And so that's really where we come into this ecosystem is being able to offer up a solution that can be modular. So maybe you only want it for leak survey. That's cool. But it can do all of these other things. It can handle all of your field activities, and then also take that data and you can start to be active with it. We talk about it as a system of action, right? Because ultimately that's what we want. In the gas space, we want to be reactive. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive, right? And the way we can do that is by gathering better data in the field so that we make better decisions based off of better analysis based on that better data. So it becomes a system of action. I tie that together, or is this still loose ends?
No, James, I know where your mind is going. I know you, brother, and I'm telling you, the passion that is bleeding out from Mark and all this is invigorating.
I love the proactive, finishing that with the proactive stance.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. We've unfortunately our industry, years and years back, we weren't as proactive. I think, big operators, big contractors, a lot of us that are on the, the service side of it are looking at ways to really provide solutions that put us in a proactive state across the industry. And so hearing that from you, Mark, and you guys being a leader, obviously, in what you're doing, that's what we like to hear. But Mark, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to think about our industry, your role, Trimble's role, all of us, right? You love what you do, Mark?
I do, immensely.
Why?
I'm gonna be a bit long-winded here, but ultimately
we would expect no different after today.
So I came from the field. I did GPS. So I've been doing this line of work: GPS. We'll start at the top: utilities, GPS, GIS, and really in that order. But I started as a field data technician, whatever that meant then. But I did GPS data collection for utilities. Did it all over the country. South Florida. My brains are all over the swamps of Florida, right? And even in Texas, my brains are all over the hill country. I spent a good bit of time, about a year and a half, in parts of Austin and San Antonio, Texas, doing data collection. And then I've done it Alaska. There's not many states I haven't touched in that realm, right? And so one of the things that I started doing was I became responsible for GPS product sales and training for our customers. And so what I would do is I would ask them, I would go through a series of questions. I was diagnosing what it is they wanted to accomplish, but I was a field guy, man. I'm not a sales guy, right? Fast forward, I got into the sales aspect of it, and I had a mentor who used to tell me lies. No, you're not in sales. You're not in sales. But in fact, I was. We were Trimble business partners, and I sold the Trimble product. I had to train on it, and then any implementations I had to do, or I had to partner with other organizations. Luckily, one of my best skill sets is networking. So I had those contacts to do those other things. What I learned was I really enjoyed diagnosing. I'm really good at asking questions, and I love doing it. But I think the bigger thing is I love helping people. And so that's really the thing for me. If I don't believe in a product or a tool, it's really hard for me to try to sell you on it, because why am I going to sell you on something I don't even like myself? Now, if I believe in the product, I use the product, I buy the product myself, or in Trimble's case, I would, then it becomes an easier scenario. But I also knew the ins and outs. I knew the field side of the work, right? Because as I even today, and if I'm doing a training, which I am in sales, but I also do trainings, giving somebody a GPS with even if it's on a phone, right? And the solution set, that's not the same as giving them a shovel. You give somebody a shovel, they will know how deep, how wide. You give somebody a GPS tool with the software on it, now you got some troubleshooting, because GPS it's man-made. We tend to forget that, right? It's kind of like the internet as an example. You go without the internet for 2 days, 4 days, you're questioning whether water is more important or the internet, right? Because especially like we stream now, we don't have cable. So that means we don't have TV. So the point there is, what I do is I like working with people. And when I got involved in the gas industry 7-8 years ago, I quite literally fell in love. I'm what they call an opportunist. I'm really good at identifying opportunities, and Trimble's in business to make money. Let's make no mistake about that. But at the end of the day, it was about learning. And I learned something every day. I love it. If I had to go back to the electric side, no offense to any electric people out there, I would be like pulling teeth. I have really fallen in love with the natural gas side of the business. And I've taken that same passion for educating myself, learning, and then trying to get Trimble in a position for my division to help bridge these technological gaps that we know that exist, right? Because so many times it's, well, that costs something. Not really. Cost says I get nothing back. ROI, when you have an investment, now you're getting something back. And I would argue with anybody, and I believe I'd be successful in this. If you buy GPS technology, it's not costing you something. You're going to get a return on it based on one incident at 2:00 in the morning on Christmas Eve. That scenario right there pays for itself tenfold. There's my long-winded answer.
Woo.
Woo. You know what? I might need another coffee after that. And I do, though. I've known Mark for years, and that's my favorite question we ask at every episode. Do you love what you do? And as I was trembling with anticipation, I kind of said in my mind what that was going to be about. Mark, you hit on some things that absolutely resonate with James and I in the industry: relationships, networking. A lot of times we don't sell in the industry, we educate. And when we can educate people through a good process, a safe process to help our industry be safer, the return is, like you said, one incident. If we can change one person to be safer one day, and that goes to another person, we're doing the right things. And
I do want to add one last thing, and that is that even though Mark hates the electric side of the business now, the show Coffee with Jim and James, it totally does not feel that way, and Mark does not represent us. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully things continue down this path, and knowing Trimble, they'll probably buy all the electric in the entire world or something, and you guys will be on that side of the business too. Mark, you've been an awesome guest. Jim, I'll let you do a corny outro if you want to.
Why not? It's a highlight of my day is doing something corny, but being, Mark, again, we're all friends. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. I think we absolutely shared some critical information for our audience to understand your world a little bit better, understand Trimble, understand all the values that you bring to our industries with safety. When I hear your name, when I see your presentations, I think of safety as the cornerstone to everything that you folks do. You want our people, our industry to be safer. We can't thank you enough for that, truly. I'll encourage all of our audience to please connect with Mark. He's a great guy. As you can see, he loves to talk. So if you have any questions about his world, do connect with him. Follow Trimble. They're a great company. Do all those things. If you're not following James and I, come on, hit that connect button and we'll connect. So until next week, on behalf of this, two nerds and a guy that just likes to be goofy, we thank you so much. God bless you. God bless our industry. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the next episode of Coffee with Jim and James, powered by Energy WorldNet. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Be
All
good.
right.
Be safe.
Well, you could say anything else, or we're done, I think, right, James? We're good?
Yeah, we're good.